So welcome to the bin bag setup. We have the microphone dangling really awkwardly right here. I'll probably need to find a better way to set this up, especially from a visual point of view. I mean, this is all covered now. I suppose I could turn it around a little bit, but I'm not going to because I cannot be bothered. So the video idea here is essentially to basically create a playlist or a list of songs that are the soundtrack of your life. The way I've interpreted this is a song, maybe two, depending on how important they were, for every year that I've been alive. Now, in the rules that I made, it said no limit for songs, but preferably 10 to 20. I think I have about nearly 30. We have, we have 15, then another 30. Okay, so we have 28. So the idea that I'm going with is this is basically a double album type of thing. The first half is songs that were important to me up until I was maybe a teenager, and then from a teenager onwards. And even with these 28 tracks, I feel like there's still a lot of songs missing still, and even some of the ones that I've included, they're a bit silly considering some of them either I haven't listened to in a long time or I just don't listen to. But you know, at a time in my life they would have been pretty important. So number one, so this is basically when I was very, very young, and the first song is going to be Penny Lane by the Beatles. This was probably like when I was really, really young, like, you know, before I was even 2, maybe 3. This was probably my favourite song at the time. When I think of like the early memories of me listening to music, this is one of the few songs that I can remember. Most of them are Beatles, and some of them obviously aren't Beatles, which we'll get into now, because number 2 is Pet Shop Boys, Opportunities. Now, the album that this is on, Please, was the first album I ever listened to, and I remember listening to it with my brother, basically just sitting on the couch, one earphone each, and I remember thinking when I was listening to this song, like, how much build up there is in the intro. Now I just remember thinking of it as, oh my god, this song changes so much before the singing comes. That was basically how I thought of it in my mind at the time, but it's got a lot of build, and it's a fantastic song, it's a fantastic album. Again, these are like the formative years of really sort of discovering the music that I liked. Number 3, now there's actually an Italian artist, and I'll explain this in a second, Toto Cutugno, Donna Donna Mia. So the reason for this is Italian music when I was really young was pretty important to me. We heard it quite a lot because it would be on in whenever we were driving, my dad would put it on. So we'd hear this one. This one was always my favourite, and we'd hear this fairly often. There was another band that I don't remember the name of that I'll probably throw on the screen at some point that sounded like the Italian Bee Gees. They're another one that I remember, and there was another one named Pupil. And no, that's not a joke name, that's his real name, Pupil. So yeah, those were pretty important when I was really young. 4, again, pretty huge band. I've made a video on them already. Probably the most popular video on my channel at this point. U2, Beautiful Day. Now by this point I think How to Dismantle an Atomic Bomb would have been released, but I think songs like Beautiful Day, Elevation, even Sometimes You Can't Make It On Your Own probably would have been on quite a lot. Vertigo is another one. A lot of those early noughties U2 songs are what I was hearing a lot at that time. but some artists do have more than one track, so we'll get back to that. Number 5, Michael Jackson, Earth Song. I think this gave me like a really, really a very early existential crisis, I suppose. I was really young when I first heard this, and I guess I probably didn't really understand it to a degree, because it was, I don't know, I guess it was just the way that the song was made, and the production. It feels very desperate, I suppose. But I used to love it when I was younger. I mean, I still like it as a song, but I don't listen to it very much anymore. I don't listen to Michael Jackson an awful lot. Number 6. Now, this is the one I'm probably most ashamed of, actually. So if you ever hear this, or if you have heard it, please don't judge me. I was like 6 years old. And it is Materazzi Fatto Gol. Again, Italian song. It's the second one, and I think it's the last one that's Italian here. So essentially, Italy in 2006 had won the World Cup, and I remember this being on an MP3 player that my dad had, and I used to listen to it way more than I should have. So even after, I had to like go back and find this song on Spotify just to see if it was still there. And there's 2 slightly different versions, and none of them seem to be how I remember it, so it might just be me remembering it wrong. But yeah, I'm pretty embarrassed by this one, but I'm going to leave it in anyway. Number 7, Eminem, The Real Slim Shady. Yep, I picked up Eminem really young. And I didn't understand any of the songs really. I used to basically just rap it as best as I could without really understanding any of it. Obviously, other songs like Without Me are pretty iconic to me as well. I have very distinctive memories of that song, and Stan, which was probably the first Eminem song I ever heard. Number 8, Queen, A Kind of Magic. Probably like my top 5 Queen songs, maybe. And I remember being at my cousin's, and he was obsessed with Queen at the time. So, I mean, he probably still is. I mean, I remember he had like a Freddie Mercury like figurine. That's how into Queen he was at the time. So, whenever I was with him, we would always end up listening to Queen, and that's how I got into them. I'm sure they would have been on at mine as around the house as well at some points, but that he's like, whenever I think of Queen, I think of him. Number 9, and I don't know, they probably could have been in here somewhere earlier, like within the first 5, but I'm not sure exactly when I got into Coldplay, but I remember listening to them a lot around about this period in school, and I've chose Yellow. And any of the songs from Parachutes could really be here, to be honest. Maybe even Violet Hill. Violet Hill's fantastic. Probably my favourite song out of Viva La Vida, actually. But yeah, this, Shiver, maybe even Trouble. Parachutes as an album has been very, very important to me, so that's, Coldplay basically had to be here somewhere. And now we go back to U2 with So Cruel. And to be honest, actually, I don't know, maybe this is kind of embarrassing as well. I don't know if I'm embarrassed by this or not, but let's just say I was way too young to have a relationship, and when we broke up, this was the song that I listened to an awful lot. Like, So Cruel was... This was around about when I really started getting into U2 as well. So I was listening to Achtung Baby, the Joshua Tree, War, which is still one of my favourite albums of all time. Probably The Unforgettable Fire and Boy as well around about this time. This is when I really properly started to care about music. But it was before I really started going down my own path of discovery, I suppose. Um, so another song that would be here as well is probably Drowning Man, from War. Number 12, Gautier by some. Sorry, Gautier is the artist. And the song is somebody that I used to know. This was massive. Come on, this was massive in like 2011, 2012. This was everywhere. It was huge. It was one of the. This is also like around about the time when I started to hate anything that I was hearing like in the charts. So I don't know. I think I was a bit before my time. With that, just I don't know, old man taste, I suppose. So like songs like Starships would come on the radio when I was in like art class or something, because they would always have the radio on there, and I hated pretty much any other song that wasn't this that was on the radio, or older songs that would ever come on, but that was rare. But yeah, this was everywhere, and to me that was a pretty big deal considering all the other songs that were out at the time. Number 13 and 14 kind of go hand in hand, I think. So number 13 is Kraftwerk, The Robots. My brother, to be honest, it was probably a couple of years before this, and I feel like I need to have these in here, so I'm going to put them in for like 13 and 14. These two songs, The Robots, basically, so my brother got me into Kraftwerk round about sort of 2011, 2012, and we watched the music video for The Robots, and I was completely encapsulated by it. I thought it was fantastic, and I thought the music was very interesting as well. Because I don't know, I don't think I'd ever heard something quite as electronic, futuristic, but still sort of primitive at the same time. It was a very strange combination of things that was happening, considering it was what 1976, 77. So, yeah, The Robots was a pretty big deal in my mind at that point. It was a new band for me to listen to. It was completely different. They were fucking German. I don't think I listened to anybody that was German at this point. Like, I'd probably heard of Rammstein, but I never listened to them up until I was like 19, 20. So the other artist that goes hand in hand here is Depeche Mode. And there's a few songs that I feel like I could have put in here as well. And this one's also tied to another breakup. This one's Broken from the Delta Machine. And to be honest, actually, the song after this is also tied to the same situation, and these were a big deal to me. So, yeah, Broken by Depeche Mode. I listened to that a lot. I mean, I was obsessed with the Delta Machine album. I think it's very, very underrated by Depeche Mode fans, as I do with Sound of the Universe. And number 15 is New Life by Pet Shop Boys. So, I don't even really understand how I really interpreted this song at the time, considering what I just told you it was why I listened to it, really, or why it connected with me. I guess. I don't know, I'm trying to think of the lyrics at the moment, and I'm not sure if it entirely makes sense with the situation, but that's the weird thing with music, is it doesn't really need to be about that. You can still sort of fit even just phrases in from songs. It doesn't have to be the entire song. I guess New Life would have been like either me or the other individual finding a new life at that point, sort of moving on, blooming, whatever. And that will be side one of the double album, I suppose, or disc one, I suppose. So that's 1 through 15, 1 through 14. I don't know, we'll see what I do when I put it here. Yeah, that's some of the most important songs of my early sort of childhood into early teens, and then up until we get up to maybe like after we hit like age 16, 15, 16, that's when everything starts sort of growing, and going in another direction. But before we get there, the start of the second disc, as we're calling it, is Invisible Light by Scissor Sisters. And I think it could be either this or Fire with Fire. Again, another album that one of my brothers introduced me to. I listened to this round about the same period as Broken in New Life, that were on the end of the last disc. But I think with this one, I felt more optimistic, I suppose, at this point. I mean, I wasn't necessarily happy. I hated school. So, I guess this song was sort of helping me through it in a more positive light, which for me is a rarity, considering most of the songs that I do tend to listen to are relatively depressing in tone. Whereas this, I don't feel that way with, and I don't feel that way with most Scissor Sisters songs as it is. But can't be too happy for too long, because the next song is Coldplay again with Warning Sign. And I don't know how. I guess I think I was just listening to music on YouTube at the time, and yeah, I listened to Coldplay a lot at this point. The early albums, or some of the songs off of the early albums, but I hadn't heard Warning Sign. I hadn't heard Amsterdam yet. I hadn't heard A Rush of Blood to the Head, and many others. And Warning Sign was probably my favourite song at this period. I was listening to every single day, sometimes multiple times a day, which isn't really my kind of thing to do. But Warning Sign was a big deal to me, and a huge song. And next we have Lucy Rose. So we were on holiday one year, around about New Year time, and Lucy Rose came into my recommendations at one point, and I thought, we'll try it out, see how it sounds. And I really enjoyed it. I thought it was really great. So I listened to some of her other singles. And I think Middle of the Bed, Scar, which I don't think is on the album, like I used to. I think it's like a bonus track. I thought was probably my favourite at the time. Place is great as well. But Lucy Rose is one of the few people that I listen to at the moment that I didn't get from anyone else. Was basically just like completely mine. And I guess the only person I really listen to as well. I think I've told a few people about her, but I don't think anybody really listens to her like I do. Now we're skipping forward a year with another two songs. Bob Dylan, Mr. Tambourine Man. Now both of these songs were showed to me in the same night by my brother. There's a theme here, This could basically be just songs my brothers introduced me to. But yeah, Mr. Tambourine Man, we were on holiday. I think it was literally the next New Year. Yeah, he put this on, and again, it was... I keep forgetting what the festival's called, but it's live in 1964. It's on YouTube. Although it was a separate video where you couldn't see him, it was like a silhouette of his face with the lyrics. So there's Mr. Tambourine Man. Then number 5 on this side is Billy Joel Piano Man, which he showed me right afterwards. Again, fell in love with it. Absolutely love Billy Joel now. I don't know how I never really heard of these songs before. I mean, I thought things about Bob Dylan that I'm not even going to say because they're that embarrassing. So we'll skip straight through to the next song, which is, again, my brother showed me this. Keen, although I knew the song, but I never knew the album. Somewhere Only We Know. I mean, it's massive, everybody knows that song. But the album, Hopes and Fears, this was just about when I got into college. And I listened to this pretty much every single day on the way. So I know these songs pretty much inside out. And, well, Someone Only We Know was the first song on the album, so obviously I heard that quite a lot. Now we're getting into my territory where I'd started finding things for myself. This was around about towards the tail end of that year when I was in college. And we're starting off with Tears for Fears. Now, I listened to Tears for Fears a little bit when I was in school, a wee bit before that as well. Everybody Wants to Rule the World, of course, everybody knows that. But I had never heard their first album before, called The Hurting, from 1983. So the song I've chose is Watch Me Bleed. I think the vocals on this are fantastic from Rolling Lords of Ball. Also, this was the first time I really listened to Mad World, the original version. It kind of blew my brain a wee bit that it was a Tears for Fears song. But hey, that was 5 years ago. Then next up, this was around about COVID time. Two massive artists for me over the past 3-4 years. The Smiths. Heaven knows I'm miserable now, and it was like some random girl on an app that told me to listen to this. I basically was just like, I want to get into the Smiths. What song do you think I should listen to? This was the song. Still probably my top 3 songs by the Smiths. I think it's incredible. So that's the story of that. Never spoke to that girl again. Don't know her name. Whatever. Hope she's doing well, I suppose. And then number 9, The Cure. Of course, these two just sort of came to my life like within like a month or two of each other. And it's Pictures of You. And the story of this song is I thought that I knew this song, but it turned out it was a completely different song that I knew. So basically I tried to look for Pictures of You, and this is what came up, and I listened to it and I was like, hold on a minute, this is what The Cure sounds like, because I thought they were more like new metal or something. I'd never listened to them before, so fell in love with them, seen them live at the end of 2022. They were amazing, pretty incredible. Number 10, Nick Drake, Fruit Tree. I mean, Nick Drake is, I don't know, it was like a revival of my love for folk music. Because I remember about a year before I had heard this album, I was looking at like a bunch of those Rolling Stone top 500 album lists and things like that, and I always remember seeing this, and something about the cover captured me, and I was like, I need to like keep a mental note of this album, and so I did. It was 5 Leaves Left, and I listened to it. I listened to Nick Drake and Joni Mitchell on the same day, and I love both of them. But Nick Drake, I guess Joni Mitchell did take her music off Spotify, which didn't help her for me. But Nick Drake, his music's still there. I've got all of his albums and CD as well. That was how dedicated to his music I felt, I suppose. Yeah, Fruit Tree was huge. And he's massively inspired like some of the songwriting that I've been doing recently. I haven't been changing tuning or anything like that, but I feel like his style is in there somewhere. Number 11, and I actually listened to this band around about the same time as The Cure and the Smiths, just before that actually, technically. But I didn't really fall in love with them properly, I don't think, until just after. And the song's Paranoid Android. Just a mental song. Like, I know that it's 3 songs fused into one, but it just works so perfectly, and whoever came up with that idea, probably Tom, it's just an incredible idea. Like, they literally made one of the best songs ever in my opinion with it. If you haven't heard it, I'll listen to it, of course. It's one of those ones though where it's like, it's not probably like really easily digestible for a lot of people in the first listen, so give it a couple of listens and, you know, space them out as well. Although it's still not even my favourite Radiohead song. Says a lot, eh? 12, another folk song. I listened to this a lot in 2022. Needle of Death by Bert Jansch. Just a really heartbreaking song about drug abuse. Um, it's pretty on the nose, really, the title, Needle of Death. Um, yeah, I did say earlier that I listened to a lot of sad music, didn't I? I didn't forget that, because it's pretty hard to, and that's pretty much all of my taste. And yeah, that fed me a lot of sadness. Um, and speaking of feeding me a lot of sadness, we're finishing out with possibly the most depressing artist on here, considering what I've already mentioned. Red House Painters and it's Katie song. This song is fucking gorgeous. Like, it's like 8 minutes long. The first 4 minutes um is where all the lyrics and things take place, and then the last 4 minutes is like just sort of emotional and musical release. Um, God, it's just fantastic. Again, I'm gonna link some of these songs that I feel like. Well, I'll put the playlist in the description actually, as well as the comments probably, and obviously I'll send it to yours truly. So yeah, I think that's gonna basically wrap up the video. Um, I'll obviously make all the playlists and things like that. It shouldn't take too long. I mean, most of these songs are available. So yeah, I hope this suffice. This will suffice. Um, and although this is like a contest entry, the contest from when I'm recording ends tomorrow. But I'm not really massively fussed about um contest entries for contestant's sake. It's more, I like the ideas that I make the videos on. I don't just like, join every single one, because I want to make more of my own videos. But this, I knew that this one ends tomorrow, and I wanted to jump on it as soon as I could. And like I said, there's many songs that could have been here, but unfortunately, I don't want to have this video be like, well, it's nearly 30 minutes now, so I probably shouldn't say that. But either way, hope it's been a good time. And good luck to all the contestants as well for whoever wins it. Yeah, I'll see you all in the next video. Cheers.